I turned 30 this year, so help me ring in this past decade by reflecting on the 5 most important books I read that I think everyone in their 20s should read. This first book is The Subtle Art by Mark Manson. I'll let you read that subheader. I don't want to say it on camera. Or maybe I will. Who knows? The book that I have here, I read in my early 20s when I was just entering college. There's so much going on when you're that age. You're so impressionable. There's so many things to say yes to that it's really hard to pick and choose what it is that you say no to. The biggest takeaway from this book is it gives you a lens to which you can look through your life and figure out what is important, what is meaningful to you, essentially how to optimize your life to make sure that those things that you want to prioritize, you're able to do so. And like the title implies, giving a fuck is a subtle art. This is a great book if you are just looking for something to read. It's very accessible, very fun, easy to read. So Mark Manson's The Subtle Art, definitely check him out. It's a great book. This book does have a cover. It is I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. What I really like about this book is it's an introduction to finance. So in my early 20s, I had part-time jobs, but I was spending 100% of my paycheck. I had no saving, and then I graduated and I got a real big boy job with a real big boy paycheck, and I was still living paycheck to paycheck with zero saving. It wasn't until I had a conversation with my manager at the time where he kind of realized how much I was spending and also just knew how much I made. So walked out of the conversation with a new book to read, and essentially this has become sort of my foundation for how I think about money. It's great because what you'll take away from this book is what your relationship to money is and how you have your own financial goals and ways that you can set up money so that way it works for you, not against you. Anyone who doesn't know a lick about anything finance related, this is a great, easy, fun introduction to finance, taking care of your money, and just ultimately becoming a better person. So definitely check it out. This third book doesn't have a cover, but it is David Brooks, The Second Mountain. And I want you to let me know if this sounds familiar. You need to go to school and get good grades so that way you can get into a competitive college and get a high-paying job when you graduate so you can buy all the things that you ever wanted. You can get married, have a house with a mortgage, 2.5 kids, and a puppy and a picket fence, right? Doesn't that sound like happiness? It might to some people, but if you're me, especially now when you've accomplished all of those things for the most part, you get to the top of that first mountain and man, you expect it to have this payoff where you're going to feel like, man, I've accomplished so much. But you get there, do all the things you were told, but you look around and you feel so unsatisfied, so unfulfilled. I read this book when I was questioning a lot of what I had been doing in my life. And up to that point, I ticked all the boxes, but felt so deeply unsatisfied with my own life. And what's great about The Second Mountain is it lets you know that you're not alone in that feeling, that there are so many people who get to the top of the first mountain where they're told that it will bring them happiness and it doesn't. This outlines how you possibly set up your life to work towards that more virtue-driven second mountain, and the path that stands basically in the valley between where you're at on the first mountain and getting to that second mountain. Highly recommend this if any of that sounded true to you. Definitely check out David Brooks. Definitely give this a listen. The Good Enough Job by Simone Stolzoff. We all got to make money. We all have bills to pay. There's just no getting around it. But for some of us, we have been raised our whole lives saying that if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life, right? Very lofty way of saying follow your dreams, right? But this book tells you that your job doesn't have to tick off every single box that you want it to. So, it can be a paycheck. It can be something that aligns with your passions. It can be something really cool that you're interested in, et cetera, et cetera. Me personally, I always had a hard time working somewhere where I felt needed to be aligned with my passion, right? What this book has helped me accept is that a job can just be a job. A job can be something that you work 9 to 5 and you clock out, you have your beer, and you don't think about work until, you have to go in the next day or the Monday if it's the weekend, right? And for the longest time, I struggled with that because, man, I want my job, the thing that I'm spending 40 hours a week, I want it to be working towards my purpose. And that was eating me alive. It was grinding me to a paste. And this book helped me figure out what it was that I wanted my job to do for me. Reading this, it will help you figure out what your relationship with is to your job. Otherwise, society is going to tell you what that relationship is going to be. Simone Stolzoff, The Good Enough Job. Check her out. And rounding off the list is The Creative Act, A Way of Being by none other than Rick Rubin. This book I read recently, and I treat this thing like the Bible. If you're creative, if you like making things, if you make art, you need to read this book. It is so important that creatives feel acknowledged in their process of how they make things. We can often go through this process and feel discouraged for whatever reason, why things aren't flowing the way that we know them to be. So this outlines every single tip and trick under the sun that Rick has come across in his years of working with artists that not only work for just the pursuit of music, but any other creative endeavors. So this sounds like something you'd be interested. Definitely pick it up. If you've ever made anything in your life, could be a story, could be, sculpture, a design, a graphic design thing in Photoshop. You need this book. I wish this was required reading in design school. Rick Rubin's The Creative Act. So that was it. Those were my 5 essential books that helped shape my 20s. Thank you for coming along. If you like this style of video, just let me know. I can totally do more. I've read more than just these 5 books in the past 10 years, so happy to talk about other things as well. Stay tuned for the next video. So thank you, everyone, and have a good night.